Tessa's going on the road. Adam and Chelsea, oh, they're totally official now. And we've got some kind of tragic situations going on with Sharon. Stay tuned as we discuss this week's Restless Wrap.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman, and I'm here with another week of Restless Wrap. We have so much to talk about. We have a lot going on with Sharon. We've got some really exciting news with Adam and Chelsea. And be sure to stay tuned until the end, because after we go through all of the content of this week, we're going to talk about our law moment as well as predictions. So let's go ahead and dive in. We have a ton of people in the chat. So as always, thank you guys for tuning in every week. I could not do this show without you. Having you here and having, this much of a discussion is amazing. We've got Kenneth Clark, Mary, Susan Russo. We have Monique Abram. We have Aaron Brody. Let me make sure I did not miss anybody here. I'm just scrolling along. We have, I think that's everybody in the chat right now. So I'm going to read a couple of your comments because we've had some really good, feedback here. Monique says, did you guys like the new Sharon promo? Yeah, everything going on with Sharon is crazy, and I absolutely love how they're handling the breast cancer storyline. It feels right, and just the way that Sharon is reacting to this. So we should probably talk about her first, but before we do, Aaron Brody says, I didn't see it yet. Mary loved it, but very sad, and Sharon nails it. Matthew Kennedy, hey Matthew, yes, about time. She got a good story. Aaron says, what's happening with Sharon? Kenneth Clark, I like it, Monique. I know Sharon Case is going to do a great job in the breast cancer storyline. Monique, I hope they do a good job with the cancer storyline. The only real good cancer storyline I remember, and they did a good job on, was when Lily had cancer. And that's the only one I'm remembering off the top of my head. If you guys want to comment, let me know if there were any others. But the one that they did do a great job with Lily when they had that whole situation, especially with the twins too. Matthew Kennedy, I'm sick of seeing Sharon as the one who gets cheated on plus baby kidnap. Yeah, so this is a different storyline here with Sharon, and it's one of those things where I think what I appreciate about it is that yes, it's something terrible, but it's not like somebody is doing something to her. It's a very real thing that happens that a lot of people can relate to, especially cancer in general. It is one of the scariest things, and it hits close to home for a lot of people. It hits close to home for me too. I've had people in my family with breast cancer, as well, direct and extended family. So it is a very, very scary disease. So I appreciate that they're really highlighting this, and that we're gonna go on this journey with Sharon. The other thing I love is that as we were seeing Sharon, we've kind of seen this for about 2 weeks now. This week when she went to the doctor, Sharon was talking about all the things that she did, like the typical I think she said daily or every so often she would do self breast examinations, and the doctor was saying yes, that's important. And I appreciated that the doctor was not just telling Sharon about breast cancer, and not breast cancer in general, but like what you do if you suspect you might have cancer. I love how the doctor was kind of going along, and we kind of felt like we were there with Sharon and that we were actually hearing this information. And it's so relevant to today's world that even though I didn't think that they were trying to really, I didn't think that they were really hitting us over the top of the head with the information, and it didn't take me out of the narrative, but it was still very informative, on top of being a very compelling plot line for Sharon. Kenneth Clark, Crystal, aka Lily, is coming back. She is dating again, guys. Ooh. Aaron Brody says Ashley had breast cancer too. Okay, that's good to know. Monique says, I have a feeling Sharon's cancer will pull her much closer to Nick and further away from Ray. Yeah. Susan says, I agree with you, Monique. And then Aaron says, I hope Sharon will be okay. I don't want her to suffer. She's been through enough. Yeah. So, okay, let's touch a little bit more about this. So This whole couple of weeks with Sharon, the big thing I've noticed is that she has not been talking to Ray about it at all, obviously, and I respect that. And obviously, it's Sharon's decision whether she's going to share the news or keep it to herself, or like when she feels is a good time to talk about it. And I'm not getting from her that she's never going to talk about it. What I'm sensing is that she just doesn't want to worry anybody if this is going to be a benign tumor. For people who are not familiar, benign versus malignant, what we're waiting on here is whether we know that this is a tumor. We know that it's, as the doctor was explaining to her, there's either fluid inside the tumor or not. In Sharon's case, there was not fluid, which was why they were more concerned, because that could be cancer, or it could be just, a benign tumor, which means harmless, which means it's not going to spread. Either way, she had to go in and get the biopsy when they did the mammogram and then the MRI, and they found out that it was not fluid. So at this point, we're waiting, and I think that's the big promo, is that next week they might give us the results. This week and last week too, Ray has kind of gone to Sharon a couple of times and said, "Hey, are you sure you're okay? I'm concerned about you. You're acting different." And Sharon is not opening up about any of this with him. Now, on the one hand, I do respect the fact that this is Sharon's decision. She doesn't have to tell Ray before she's ready. I personally feel like it's more of an obligation on her part to tell her kids who are biologically related to her, so that the big thing is that when you have people in your family who have had cancer or who have cancer, it makes your chances of getting cancer more. So, and not to talk about myself here, but when you have, like in my case, I had a mother and a grandmother who both had breast cancer, so it automatically makes my chances of getting breast cancer around 32%. Between that, and then of course they factor in a lot more than just whether you're related to somebody who has breast cancer. But that's like the biggest part of that between that and taking the BRCA test. So with Sharon, my personal opinion is that the only real obligation that she has is to tell her kids, so that they know they have to be more alert and more cautious, because there's a certain, if you do have a family member who has breast cancer in particular, that's the one that I know the most about, because that's one that runs in my family. You have to watch what you have to. They guide you to eat certain things and to have a certain diet. So that to me is the real, that's my only concern here. But I don't think that she has to tell her children right this second. I appreciate that she just wants to wait until she hears back and knows for a fact that this is definitely a malignant tumor and that she does have to be concerned. The other thing is that when she was dealing with all of this, not only was she dealing with breast cancer, but on the day, like the day before she went to get the biopsy done, it was Mariah's birthday as well as Cassie's birthday. So on top of dealing with this cancer scare, Sharon is grieving the loss of her child, but then also celebrating the birth of her other child, Mariah. And so it was a hard day for Nick and Sharon anyway, because 15 years ago was when they lost Cassie. So it was already hard. Sharon probably didn't want to make it worse for anybody. And on top of that, it was Mariah's birthday. So even if no one had passed away on this date, she probably didn't want to ruin Mariah's birthday. So I respect that and I appreciate it. And I just, just going in the future, though, I am hoping that she will tell her kids about this, because that's the number one thing to me, is making sure that they're aware. But I'm not taking it that she won't, just that she's waiting. Ray, on the other hand, I think the only thing that I feel bad about is that he is her significant other. If I was Sharon and I was going through this scare, I probably would have told Ray, like from the moment I found out. From the moment I found out there was a lump, like I probably would have told Ray. But again, I respect her decision, and nobody, like, this is her body, and she is the one who, makes that executive decision whether she's going to whether she's going to talk about it with Ray. He's not related to her, so there's really, in my mind, there's no obligation to ever tell him if she doesn't really want to, other than the fact that this is her significant other, and she should be able to share something like that with him. And to me, it says something that Sharon does not want to share this with Ray, that maybe it's just, not that close of a relationship anymore. We have a bunch of comments. I'm going to tune in and read those. Okay, let's see. So we have Aaron says, I hope Sharon will be okay. I think I had read this, that she's been through enough. Aaron Brody, Sharon came on to the show as a lost soul. Susan Russo, she's come a long way. Aaron, yep, I love Sharon. Susan says, oh, Rachel, the only upside to that is being aware. Yeah. Monique says, you don't talk about it. You can pretend it doesn't exist. You talk about it, it becomes real. And that is true too. And I respect Sharon's decision not to talk about it right now. And I also understand why she wouldn't want to, because then you bring it up with your family and it's like, okay, now you're going to make everybody very, very concerned when they might not have to be. But I would like to see Sharon tell her daughters if she does find out this is malignant. It would be, I would like to see her actually tell them and talk to them about it, talk to her kids about this. Aaron Brody, diabetes runs in my family. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Aaron. Yeah, that's it's like any disease. Like when certain things run in your family, you are just more aware of it, and it does help to know when you have a family member who related, a close direct family member who has, a disease, because then it helps you be more aware of, prevention and that you might have to eat a certain way to make sure that you're healthy. Kenneth Clark, it's been 15 years since Cassie died. OMG. Yeah, that was hard too. And I loved the scene that we got between Nick and Sharon. I almost thought that when she left that paperwork on the table, I thought that Faith was going to see it. I thought actually first Nick was going to see it, and that would be the reason why she ended up confiding in him first. That's the other thing, is that, no offense to Ray, but with Nick, he's the father of her. I feel like she owes it more to Nick. Not that she owes a spouse or a former boyfriend any information about her body, because I don't feel like she does, but I feel like with Nick, they have more of a history, and that if she, I feel like she owes it more to him to be honest and tell him eventually what's going on, considering he is also Faith's father, and he should be, the relationship that Sharon and Nick have, they are friends, so it would be nice to see her talk to him about this, more so than Ray. Aaron Brody, I still cry every time I see that scene from Cassie's death. Yeah, it is a hard scene to watch. And I love that they always pay tribute to her. And it's even not seeing it, like they didn't actually show a flashback this year, but just seeing Nick and Sharon together and seeing pictures is hard enough, even 15 years later. Aaron Brody, I'm glad they never aged Faith. I like that actress. She is a very good actress, and I hope she's around for a little bit longer. Like obviously she goes back to boarding school, but I hope that we get to see her. She's actually, I've seen her on commercials. She's been in other movies, so it's nice to see her and to see a familiar face instead of them aging up another kid like they sometimes do. Monique Abrams says, alcoholism runs in my family. Yeah, and so it's as hard as it is to, know that you have that connection to either alcoholism or diabetes or breast cancer, it's very empowering to know that, because you are able, like it better helps you understand yourself and understand some of your genetics and understand what could, understand ways to just maintain a healthy body and what runs in your family. So I feel like it is very powerful. Matthew Kennedy, Nick and Sharon have so much history, good and bad. Ray is just a drive-by boyfriend. Yeah, I agree. And at one point I did feel the chemistry between Ray and Sharon, but all of that seems to just be going out the window, and I am really not feeling them anymore at all. Like they just, I don't even, like, they don't have any chemistry. They don't really talk. She's pushing him away. He's very busy with work. I feel like they're trying to fizzle it out, especially now that Nick is officially single. And it's not just like, we know that Chelsea's definitely with Adam now. So it's just one of those situations where I feel like Nick and Sharon are going to end up back together. The actor who plays Nick, even in an interview that I read on the show, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, even then he was saying that he saw Sharon and Nick as endgame. So I feel like that is a hint, like hint, maybe we're going to see them back together. And I feel like now that Sharon might be struggling with breast cancer, we're going to see that sooner than later, because even though I feel like Ray would step up and be a really good boyfriend to Sharon in when helping her deal with sickness like that, I think that really Nick's going to be the one to step up, and that we're going to see his love for her shine through, because he is not going to want to lose her. And the idea of that, I think, is going to bring them closer together. And that's one last thing I'll say about this, is that what I loved is how Sharon was acting this entire week, knowing that she could possibly have breast cancer and not knowing where this could lead. She seemed to suddenly appreciate the fact that she was alive and that she had kids, and that she was just appreciating the little moments. And even like asking, we're going to talk about this too, but Tessa going on the road. And so Sharon, knowing that Mariah was going to have a lot more free time on her hands, Sharon was like, hey, Mariah, let's go. Let's do all these things. Let's go shopping. Let's have, a girls' night in. And it just seemed like I appreciated that perspective and just how Sharon's handling it, and that she is recognizing that if this goes badly, that she is going to spend every moment that she has left with the people that she loves, and she's really going to appreciate the small moments. So I'm sad to see this storyline. It was a very hard thing for me to watch in particular, based on, my own experiences with breast cancer, not me personally, but people in my family. But I'm very happy that they are doing this, because it sheds a lot of light on things that need to be talked about. And I think that the acting has been superb all around, and I am so excited to see what we get from Sharon and what happens to her and how this pulls family back in. So Aaron Brody says Ray is pretty boring with Arturo and Mia and his parents. Yeah, it is kind of getting boring with him. Monique says Faith is the only character they haven't aged up. And then this Cameron Grimes has always been either Cassie or Mariah too, so I appreciate that. Sheena123 says, bring Mia for Ray. Yeah, if we bring Mia back, we know that the drama is going to go, through the roof. But no news on that happening right now. So we'll touch on that if she does come back. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic. But before we do, I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, allowing us to be the ESPN of TV talk. We could not do any of this without you. And so anything you do, whether it's commenting live the way that you guys already do, or commenting on the video if you're not watching live, or just, anywhere, giving us 5 stars on iTunes, subscribing to our different channels. We've got a ton, by the way, not just for drama, but we also do sci-fi, we do reality TV. If you are watching a show right now, chances are AfterBuzz is covering it. So be sure to check us out, across our different channels too. And if you do happen to subscribe or follow or leave a comment, let me know, and I will give you a shout out live on the air. I always try to give you guys shout outs anyway. We've also got our @Restless Rap page on Facebook, and we actually, when we get to our Caption That segment later on, I'm going to read the comments that we got on that picture, because we had a lot. It was, very, very funny stuff that we're going to talk about later. Okay, so Aaron Brody, oh, I love the round of applause. Yes. And then Mary says, hit the like button. Thanks, Mary. Okay, so we have, with the time that we have left, now is a good time if you would like to call in. We'll leave the line open. We're going to talk about Adam and Chelsea next. If you would like to call in, the number for you to dial, we will put it up there for you in a second. Well, I will read it when it comes up on the board, but it should be up there for anybody who wants to call in live. And again, that would be if you're listening right now, which is 5:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is January 12th. And the number is 424-354-8302. All right, and then also Ryan in the booth posted the number in case you missed that. So we'll take some calls now. Let's talk about Adam and Chelsea, because we had some very interesting moments between the two of them, and some crazy. We went from A to Z this week very quickly, especially with the fact that Chelsea did not really want to be with Adam. Like, she did, but she was very hesitant about it last week. And then this week, we saw her talking with Chloe, and it went from last week from, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know if I can do this, like, I can't trust him per se, to this week, it was, she goes to Chloe and says, yeah, I want to be with Adam. It was just very direct, and I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I want them to be together, so I'm not complaining about it, but I just noticed that it was very, very, she changed her mind and, like, seemed to figure things out very quickly. Monique Abram, Tessa married. That was a shock to me. Yeah, we'll talk about that next, actually. But I did not expect that one either. Matthew Kennedy, I'm not a fan of Adam and Chelsea. So my thing is that I was never a fan of Chelsea and Nick, even before she left a couple of years ago. We're talking I think it was the end of 2017 or very early 2018, when she just, we had that whole storyline with Chelsea and she left and that was it. Even at that point, I didn't want Nick and Chelsea together. I wanted Nick and Sharon. And now I'm relieved that she's not with Nick. And I have felt the chemistry between Adam and Chelsea. And it sounds like we've got a caller on the line. Thanks for calling in, Restless Rap. Who do we have on the line?
It's me, Rachel. It's Aaron.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for calling in. Good to have you on the line.
You're welcome.
So we're talking about Adam and Chelsea. What are your thoughts?
Chelsea. Don't even get me started on Chelsea.
Oh.
Her flip-flop ass.
Yeah. She irritates me in general, but I like her better when she's with Adam. How about you?
Yeah, when they first brought her back, I was excited that they brought her back, but then when they started putting her with Nick, I'm like, well, why is she going with Nick? Her love interest is Adam.
Yeah.
When they left, they were married, they were together. Chloe and them were having their issues when she found out it was Chloe that set them up with the explosion and had tried to kill him 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, okay, well, your interest is Adam. Why are you with Nick? And there was no chemistry. There was no build-up. There was no lead-up. So I'm like, why is she with him? And then when she finally realized Adam was alive, it's like, okay, well, why when you go back to your husband, the father of your child, you're going to Nick and then treating Adam like he's some kind of criminal? So I was just confused. I was like, well, what are they doing with her character? And then when it was revealed that she was alive and that they were going to be together, and Adam's like, well, I have the amnesia thing, and she was like, well, I'm not buying it, and you're lying, and I'm like, well, what are we doing with the storyline? It's like, this is your husband. You thought he was dead for 3 years. This is the father of your child. Why aren't you running to him, with the arms of passion and treating him like an enemy? It's like, well, what is going on with the character? When we left off, y'all were like on good terms. Adam and Nick were like best friends, when they were in the prison scenes together. And Adam said, something happens to me, I want you to take care of my son. And then Nick suddenly went to, I don't know, his whole character changed. And it was almost like he was protecting Christian against Adam. And I'm like, well, this is the father of his child. You're supposed to just be his owner. Well, not really his owner, but his guardianship person. But you're acting like he kidnapped him or something. I'm like, this is his kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So then when Chelsea got back in the picture, I'm like, okay, well, good. Chelsea's here. We're going to get some, resolve for all this stuff, but then she turned on him. And I'm like, what is going on with this storyline?
It's just like, it's
Nobody's
almost
confused.
it's almost like they didn't remember what Adam had been like with these people before he quote unquote died. And then suddenly we're bringing him back. They just needed him to be this, antagonist. I think what I appreciated, though, is this week when we had Chelsea finally revealing why she was acting the way she was with Adam when he first came back. And while I don't quite buy it, at least we get from her that she was acting that way because she was so scared, because she lost him once and she couldn't lose him again. I was like, okay, but we needed that when we needed at least some of that when he first came back, but at least we got it now. I was like, okay, now I can kind of understand from Chelsea's point of view anyway, why she would have just not even given him any time and was acting like he was this bad person. And then I was like, okay, fine, I kind of get it. But but
and
it was
what I was confused about too. I'm like, okay, well maybe she's just in shock. You thought he was dead for 3 years. Now suddenly he's here, so you might kind of be a little standoffish. But then when you realize that it's not, a twin or some sick joke Victor did, you realize it was your husband, but you still kept him away from you. You kept him away from your son, and then you treated him again like the outcast. Like they treat everybody in this town like a pariah. Him and Phyllis. Yeah. And that was another thing that pissed me off. Him and Phyllis, the chemistry between them were clearly there. Why didn't you just put him with Phyllis? Even if him and Chelsea aren't available to be right now, okay, fine. Chelsea doesn't want to be with them. She needs time to process. Put him with Phyllis. I feel like their chemistry was fine. It was fire, but then she turned on him. I'm like, what is with the turning on this town? Everyone in this town has done something. But when we left off the storyline, you were on good terms with Adam. Everybody was in love with Adam. But then he comes back and everyone's like, oh my God, he just broke out of prison. Keep him away from your kid. He might kill you. I'm like, this is your brother. Your dad, your husband. Why are we treating him like a common criminal? He's the victim. Chloe tried to kill him. He didn't do anything wrong. So, why are we turning on him?
Well, thank you.
But Chloe walks around free, and no one cares.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate all your comments. Thanks for the call, and we'll talk to you next week.
He's out.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so let's just touch a little bit more. Thank you, Aaron, so much for calling in. That was awesome, especially all your comments. Let's just kind of talk a little bit more about Chelsea and Adam, and then we'll move on, talk a little bit about Tessa and Mariah. And then we had a little bit of drama with Lola and, not really with Lola per se, but we had some Summer Kyle stuff going on too. And Aaron says, thanks guys, how did I do? Aaron, you did amazing. Thank you for calling in. You had some really insightful things to say, and I really appreciated it. And in terms of Phyllis and Adam, it was, they really went about this in a strange way and then never fulfilled certain aspects. Phyllis and Adam did seem to have some chemistry at a time. And then what happened to the whole Sharon and Adam thing too? I mean, we know they were back and forth between that and everything going on with Ray, but then Ray and Sharon broke up. So they did kind of leave things hanging a little bit. But I will say this, I appreciated in the end when we had that big moment with Chelsea where she told Adam all of these things she'd been keeping pent up. And it was so, to me, I felt the chemistry between them so strongly. I was like, okay, this is really where Chelsea needs to be. I have not, any time Chelsea was in the room with Nick, I didn't even feel a tenth of the chemistry. As I feel with Adam and Chelsea. So I think to me that says something, and I feel like a lot of people in the chat are in agreement with me. If you're not in agreement, let me know too. We can totally talk about that. But, Aaron says that was my first time calling in. Well, you'll have to call back again soon, next time, definitely. Okay, so that's really the biggest thing to say about them, except for the fact that we also had some drama with Victor. Oh, and we have somebody else calling in. This is Restless Rap. Who's on the line?
Hey, you're Restless Rap. Who's on the line? Where you come from?
Oh, hello. Is this for the AfterBuzz TV show?
Yeah, this is Rachel with The Young and the Restless, The Young and the Restless Rap. Who do we have on the line?
Yes.
Can you turn your TV down?
Oh, this is Monique calling from Wisconsin.
Hey, Monique. So, you know what? I think it's probably a good time that we segue into talking about Tessa and Mariah. What did you think about Tessa's decision to leave?
I think it was pretty cool, but it was like we found all these things about Tessa. She was married before, and what could this mean, for Tessa and Mariah's relationship? The fact that Tessa didn't tell Mariah that she was married is going to cause a lot of problems with them, and I'm liking it so far because they need drama because they've been boring so far, just like with Sharon and Ray and Nick and Chelsea. Hopefully that this will give Mariah much of a more needed storyline.
Yeah, I think so too. And also, now that they're apart, it might make them I don't know if they're gonna. I'm assuming they're not gonna show Tessa at this point, but it did give us a lot of context in terms of how serious they were getting. But thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
Yes, and I'd also like to comment on the Chelsea and Adam situation.
Sure.
I feel that this reunion may be short-lived because I have a feeling that once this secret that Adam is keeping about him and Chance, I have a feeling that baby that was left on Nikki's doorstep has something to do with Adam.
Oh, that's a really good prediction. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for calling in.
Just out.
Okay, cool. So I think that's about all the time we have for calls today, but thank you guys for calling in. Let's go ahead just really fast. I want to touch on one more thing with Tessa, and then we'll touch on just really quickly, we'll touch on Lola and then get to our segments. So just with Tessa, we had that moment where she gives Mariah her diary, which I thought was brilliant. Definitely a callback to the past with Mariah. And then just that moment in general between the two of them, I really I went from I went from not trusting Tessa to suddenly realizing, okay, she really does love Mariah, that she would give this journal to Mariah and even tell her, I want you to know who I am. And that's the biggest thing that Tessa could ever say to anybody. So I am not concerned for their relationship. I think that they're going to be fine, but I absolutely loved this moment that they had before Tessa left. One thing I want to mention about Lola, Summer, we had Lola, Summer, Kyle, Theo. We had this moment where Summer, who told Theo she did not give a gift for Kyle's birthday, actually brought Kyle a gift, and it was of the two of them, of Summer and Kyle, when they were kids. And Lola, she seemed like she was kind of upset about it, but later she took Kyle out into the hallway and was like, listen, I actually I could let it bother me, but I won't. And that's exactly why, I'm not, why this is going to work out between us, because we're both, there are things that could threaten their relationship, but both of them are just trying not to let in things like that, that things that could present a problem. They're just letting it go. And I think that was very important, because I feel like Theo is going to eventually try something with Lola. I mean, it's obvious if he just feels like that's where he's headed. The question is, though, can Lola and Kyle be broken up? Okay, let's first do our Caption That. So, as you guys can see up on the screen, Caption That. So as you guys can probably see up on the screen, I went through, and this was something we didn't get to talk about yet, but I went through and found a picture that I asked you guys all to comment on the Restless Rap Facebook page. And so we had a lot of comments. Carol Thorpe Stankard said, what I had asked, though, was that people give the caption of whatever's going on in this picture. Carol Thorpe Stankard said, if I hear one more time that I look like Hillary, I am throwing this drink. Let's hope no one calls her Hillary again. Susan Tadeo Russo says, you talk to a little voice in your head too? Because we all know that Billy's going through this weird thing where he's there's so many moments where he's having a voiceover thing going on. Kenny Clark says, I really look like Hillary. Tell me more. Betty Kennedy just says, awesome. I like that one. Marilyn Tillery, if I open my eyes real wide, you can read what my inside voice is telling me. Katie Dudziak says, oh no. That's hilarious. Cindy Roth, still love the show. Yeah, so that's thank you guys for chiming in. I appreciate your hilarious comments. I'm going to say that for me, the funniest ones, I mean, I loved the one or two word responses. The oh no was hilarious. But Susan Russo saying, you talk to a little voice in your head too. I thought that was especially funny. Okay, let's go ahead and get to our law moment really fast. Okay, so this week, I didn't think that there was really that much that was funny, to be honest, but this I thought was. We had Mariah and Sharon talking, and then they were talking about Tessa, and Mariah goes, well, this lie about the husband isn't on the same level as all of her other lies, considering Tessa had gone to Mariah and told her. And Sharon said, at least it isn't criminal this time, and I just thought that that was hilarious on so many levels, considering, yes, like this really, as bad as this kind of was, it really wasn't bad, like if we compare it to every other lie that Tessa's ever had. Okay, so I don't think we're going to have time for predictions, unfortunately. So until next week, my name is Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on Instagram on my author account at Rachel Radner Author. You can also find the Restless Rap page on Facebook at Restless Rap. And we'll be back next Sunday, same time, same place. Until then, have a wonderful week, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.